Welcome to iPen Visions Podcast, interviews and conversations, where we bring authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and those with a vision to our networking community and platform. Be our guest. Include your article, your ad, your promotions, and upcoming events in our quarterly magazine. We are proud to be a part of the Collective for Podcast, a virtual tour showcasing you and your business. Our podcast, the magazine, a virtual tour, all on one platform where networking, creativity, and visions meet. All you have to do is contact us at ipendesign@gmail.com. And tonight, welcome to the show. Good evening, and welcome to iPen Visions Podcast, interviews and conversations with myself and my co-host, Felice Reeves. We welcome you, and we want you to feel welcome as we bring our guests, as we bring speakers and authors and folks that are in business and people that want to give us inspiration, healing, and methods of survival. That's what I really want to call it, because sometimes we need some help. And as you guys well know, here on the podcast, what we do is we try to make everyone network together and build a community of likes and people that we enjoy. So tonight's guest is a special guest, and we're going to bring him on shortly. But before we do that, I have to bring up my co-host, who is my support system and my community network loving person. I want to bring her to the stage and welcome her. Don't know where she is today, people, but we're going to bring her to the stage and find out. So good evening, Felice. How are you, my dear?
I am extremely well, and you know where I am. You know.
I love it simply because the thing is that you are like a breath of fresh air as I think about your travels. You know, it's like, oh wow, where did she go down? Oh wow. Is she traveling? Oh wow. I don't know. I guess I've always had a traveling spirit, you know. Growing up from being a kid and traveling with sports and everything, I'm just used to being on the road. You know, I'm just used to, saying, hey, we going somewhere this weekend? Where we going? You know.
So, I wish one day that answer would be.
Oh, okay.
Just one day, you know.
Okay. Well, I can understand it, because I know that for myself, most of the time, I just want to be on the road. I just want to be going somewhere, doing something. And a lot of times as an author, I look forward to going and then extending my stay to know the area that I'm going to. So tonight we want to welcome a new author. He's just written his first book, and I think that it's going to do well. It sounds like a great book, but I haven't read it. However, just from reading the little bit about it and everything else, I think it's going to be a great book for him. So we want to welcome him to the stage and give him his honors and his props. Tonight's guest is Mr. Elijah Lewis. So we want to welcome him to the show.
And
we want to give him his kudos and all of that good stuff and all of that. What they call it? Do they even have a name for podcast love? I don't know if they have a name for that.
Well, we'll make up something before the night.
We'll make up something before the night. Yeah, we got to have something, because the guests that come on, they always are so elated once they leave. And we want to, like, okay, so what is it? Is it podcast love? Is it showering them with? I don't know what it is. But anyway, we're going to do that to him as well. We're going to include him in on it too. So bringing him to the stage. Good evening, Mr. Lewis. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good, ladies. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. Look forward to a great conversation.
A great conversation. Okay, well, I'm going to let you know that sometimes there's slip-ups. That's why Felice is here.
Well, and I'm going to let him know that it all depends on you when the conversation is greater.
Sometimes. I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know ahead of time now. Disclaimer.
because it's all
Sometimes.
about you. So
It's all about him. But the thing is, I'm letting him know ahead of time. Sometimes. But tonight, we want to talk all about you and throw our best questions at you so that the audience gets to know who you are. The very first question is just what I said. Who is Elijah Lewis? Who are you?
All right. Well, to answer that question, to answer the question, my name is Elijah Lewis. So I am an author and motivational speaker. Currently by day, I am a project engineer with NAVC in Indian Head, Maryland. Currently, I live in Waldorf, Maryland, but I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was born in Atlanta. So definitely have my deep Southern connections, especially my mom's side of the family. But all in all, to describe me as a person, I'm the type of person that considers myself to be an optimist, a person that tries to learn from all my experiences, and more ultimately, a person that wants to see the best in people and ultimately want to let people know that the sky is the limit. And more importantly, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You know, I have made my share of mistakes on my journey like everyone else, but I always say that it was the community behind me and the lessons that I learned that made me who I am today. And without those two things, I'm not who I am right now. So that's kind of the inspiration of why I decided to go and be an author, was to share my story, but also let people know that, you know, you can find the jewels on your journey if you look hard enough. And when you have the right people and the right lessons in your life, ultimately you can find yourself as a jewel and, you know, inspire other people to do the same. So that's kind of a little bit about me and who I am as a person.
Well, you know what? I think that your introduction of self is one in a million, which all are. I don't want to negate anything from anyone else. But the thing about it is those of us, and I say us openly, that always look for the brighter side of things, we seem to have to find a connection so that we can help tell people that the jewels are in their journey. Because a lot of people give up on their journey before they even get started, before they even know they're on a journey. They automatically, oh, well, I never had this and I never had that. And my dad never had this. My mom didn't go here. And I'm a lot older than you, so I can remember those stories when it was so true that whatever guide or path your family was on, you pretty much had to stay on that path because you didn't have any other path. You know, if your family didn't have much of an education, you didn't really have the money to go get an education, you know, so you went to work. You know, if your family didn't have much to work available to them, they worked in other people's homes, you know. So I can understand that for that generation, but just, you know, talking about your book, Your Jewels or Your Journey, as well as your platform, Your Jewels or Your Journey, how do we get someone to just come out of that mode? Because nowadays opportunities are 1,000 to 1. You know, even if you say, I'm a gamer, I want to play games. You know, my son was telling me yesterday, he said, do you realize how much money they make playing those games now? You know, and he came up in the Nintendo age. He came up in the, you know, the era of the Atari games and all of that stuff. He said, could you imagine, you know, if I still was playing? And I told him no, but you know, I didn't think games were going to be his future. But the thing about it is now games are the future for some people. So how do we tell them that there are jewels in every walk, in every step? How do we explain that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you just have to, first of all, I think one of the things I put in my book is that positivity is good for the soul. And I think when it comes to especially our children and our young people, we have to be really careful what we're telling them. When we say that, you know, I didn't have this, and you can't do this, and things like that. The biggest jewels I put in my book is don't let other people put you in a box. And I think what hampers a lot of people from going after the jewels that are in their journey or the goals and aspirations that they have on in life is that, unfortunately, they might be surrounded by a lot of naysayers. And when you listen to enough naysayers, it's inevitable that doubt is going to creep in. And when you're surrounded with nothing but people who doubt you or saying that you cannot do a certain thing, that's going to have an impact on you as a person. So what I would tell to anybody is one, you have to surround yourself around the right people who can help you get to where you're trying to go, because none of us do anything by ourselves. There's no I in team. It's a team effort. So whether that's your family, your friends, your teacher, whoever that is that can help you get to where you're trying to go, that's very important. So I say definitely you need to make sure you're speaking positivity to our young people and not trying to hinder the aspirations that they have for them. And I think the next thing is, okay, like you said, Ms. Buchanan, I think you said your son wanted to be a gamer. So, as a parent,
No, he never wanted to be a gamer. We were having the conversation about gamers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he just mentioned that, had I continued in games.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was telling them, look, you're not going to get a job as a gamer. You're going to have to do more than that. And he understood it. He does his thing. He's got his thing going. But the thing about it is that he understood that gaming at that time,
yes,
was not something. I mean, it's even as bad as, I'll even go to say that on social media, of course, someone mentioned that a man who is an electrician is not a prosperous man. And I was like, this has got to be somebody that's crazy, because electricians make very good money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, like, again, even my father was an electrician, top electrician. So I knew automatically that between his era when he was top electrician to now, there's been so much of a change that you can't, like you said, you can't put a negative pot in front of someone in reference to what they do, because the thing is, they could be the next whirlwind for tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say to that point, like you said, the person said, well, might be doubting whether or not you should be an electrician. My thing is that each and every one of us have to figure out, okay, what is it that makes us happy and fulfilled? Because I put in my book, we're all on a different journey. None of our journeys are necessarily the same. We may have some similarities, but if one person's path is to be an electrician or a gamer, they may be on two different paths. But my thing is, okay, is being a gamer or being an electrician, does that make you feel happy and fulfilled? And if so, you need to continue to do that, because the worst thing that any of us can do is try to put ourselves in a box to try to please someone else. And think about it. I mean, we've all probably been there. We tried to do something that someone else wanted us to do, and we felt so miserable. I'll use myself as an example. I a few years ago, before I became an author, I got into a multi-level marketing with I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm not gonna badmouth them because people might be out there still on there. But I was involved in Amway. And I thought at the time it was a good deal. I thought, hey, I can make some extra money. But after a while, I realized this doesn't make me happy and fulfilled. It might make someone else happy and fulfilled if they're making all the money that they're saying they can make. But I just knew that was not for me. And I had to essentially tell my sponsor, listen, I appreciate the opportunity, but I have to go my separate way. Because at the end of the day, this is my life. And everyone else's life is different. So, to land my plane here, I would say, listen, you have to figure out what is your purpose. I tell people all the time, everyone has a purpose, but I cannot tell you what your purpose is. That's something that you are going to know when when you come across that. Like your intuition will tell you, hey, this is for me. And when you know that, you have to go with that with all your might. Because if I'm telling you that your purpose is such and such, I'm not telling you what your purpose is. I'm giving you an assignment. That's kind of like how we go to work. The boss gives you a task that you have to do. You know, as like an engineer, you know, I think being an engineer is part of my purpose. But at the same time, my supervisor may give me tasks that I have no choice of whether or not I want to do. If I don't do it, I won't be employed. So my message to people is when it comes to your purpose, you know, don't let anyone put that on you. You determine what that is. And to wrap it all up, remember, unfortunately, you can't please everybody. I think in my opinion, if you try to please every single person that comes into your life as a people pleaser, you're actually going to be a very miserable person. You know, you can take people's advice, which is great, but at the end of the day, you have to make your own decisions and go about your journey the way you see fit, and that's the best you can do.
Well, you're actually blowing my mind because in the sense that you know professed yourself as an engineer, and I've worked with a lot of engineers over my life, a lot of them. Had several jobs that that said I should be an engineer. I should be an accredited engineer to do the job that I did. But most engineers, in my experience, were not more or less people. Who, you know, they're methodical and things go in a logical order. And then I seen a glimpse of that, as you said just a minute ago. But about the task, right? So I do applaud you for your journey, your particular journey, that you're outside of the mold of what an engineer's persona is, because you have a book that helps other people. Now, of course, engineers create things that help people, but more, again, from the logical, technical standpoint. But you have, in my thoughts or my experiences, kind of breaking the mold, because most things, you know, again, it's about the person, but most engineers think about the product or whatever they're producing or creating. But then you're stepping outside of that as an engineer to connect with people and then to be a motivational speaker. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. And one of the topics.
This is like kind of blowing my mind.
And one of the topics that I think you feed off of, we're going to go through the three major ones that you mentioned, but embracing your journey is just what you're telling people, you know, that you know, be about who you are, be about embracing your purpose, because the thing, and you know, in a way, as life would have it, you can't go too far from your purpose without it hurting. You know, like you said, you become uncomfortable, you become miserable, sometimes you make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes you just don't pay enough attention to what you're doing to even get through what is not your purpose. You know, you don't want to go through that growth period or whatever, because you see something beyond that. You see, you know, a whole different avenue that you can take, or a whole different way to get to what you enjoy. So embracing it, I think of the word embracing, and I think sometimes, I know with children and grandchildren and our loved ones and everybody else, when you really embrace somebody, you don't let them go.
Exactly.
So when you say embrace the journey, you're almost saying, don't let that go. You know, even though you might have to go off a little bit, and you might have to go over here to collect this, and you might have to find out some more information, still hold on to that little touch of, here's where the sparkle comes from.
Yes,
Here's where I
absolutely.
really get my boost from. Here's where I really feel good about myself. So I applaud you as well, as Felice said. You are being an engineer, but you're not being the typical engineer.
Right.
You're engineering other things. You're putting things in place to create other things, which is not the typical mechanical, methodical
Methodical.
Yes.
process that an
Right.
engineer goes through,
Right.
especially going from engineer to write a book that's not about all of that, to write a book that's about self-help and self-wellness and that's phenomenal for you to be able to come out of that mold and say, hey, I want to take a look at this. So embracing your journey is, I think, the foundation of what you're saying. There's jewels in your journey. Well, in order for me to find those jewels, I have to remember that when I pick them up, nugget by nugget, I need to hold on to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes we throw away the nugget thinking we're gonna get the big piece. No, you keep those little nuggets, keep that little stuff with you.
And think about this.
Go ahead. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, I like what you said, Ms. Buchanan, about holding on to the jewel. Because think about it, when you think about an actual jewel that has that shines, it has value. Like for example, when it comes to jewelry, if it's valuable to you, you're not going to just throw that away. You're going to hold on to that diamond earring, the ring, or the necklace, or whatever it has. Whatever piece of jewelry has value to you, you hold on to that. You don't just throw it away. So, if you are going to do that for a physical jewel, then you have to do the same thing for a metaphorical jewel. Because if you don't, then you're not learning anything. You're just going to repeat the same things over and over. So, I think a lot of people, a lot of times, like to hold on to some things that are tangible. But if it's not tangible, we just say, "Oh, I don't need that. I'll just throw that away." It's like, no, you need that to grow and develop, because you should be evolving. You should be getting better as you go about your journey in life. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say to that point. And I like that you said that, because it made me think of that. Hey, if you're supposed to be embracing the metaphorical jewels, you should be doing the same. You should be doing the same thing like you do with your physical jewels as well.
Absolutely. So that you almost started answering the question that I have for you, is this word jewel in your journey. And a lot of our audience won't have the benefit of knowing what your bio says, as they're watching this, maybe on the replay or even now. So in your journey, what jewels did you pick up that got you from one point to another that brought you here today?
Well, I would say some of the jewels were definitely, for example, and like the ones I mentioned in my book, were definitely have a great role model, someone who can help you and guide you along the way. And I've had so many great role models in my life. For example, I talk about it in my book, my dad is my role model, because my dad, even there were moments in my life where I felt like I wanted to give up, and he never allowed that for me. And I'm so thankful that he always continued to push me, even though I didn't want to continue to fight at times. And I say that because, and first and foremost, I do want to say my mom does deserve credit as well. I appreciate both of my parents. So I want to put that out there, for both my parents. Definitely got to make sure mom is included too. But
you see, he covered himself. You see, he covered himself, right?
Well, that's that mom training. That's that mom training.
I moms out there. He's like, man, I was feeling that young man, but he didn't include mom. Like, I don't know if I understand him. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've covered both parents. So,
there you go.
To the moms. But I say my dad because one of the things in my life was I told my dad, he asked me, he said, Elijah, if you don't go to college, what are you going to end up doing with your life? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not shy about it. I graduated high school with a 2.58 GPA, and I tell people this jokingly: if they had a cum laude system in high school, mine would have been "Thank you, dear Lordy." But I remember telling my dad, I said, "Dad, I don't know. I think I'll just go work at Walmart." And I tell people it's not a knock when people work at Walmart, because honest work is honest work. Yeah. But I just said that to try to say, like, well, I'll figure something out.
It is what it is. Mm-hmm.
Right. But my dad, what I appreciate about him so much is he saw something in me that I was not seeing in myself. And he got me involved in programs like I talk in my book, like the Urban Youth Racing School or the National Youth Leadership Forum. And through that really reignited my confidence and helped me do better in school and led me to where I am today, where I've graduated high school and graduated from Tuskegee and Morgan, and where I am today as an engineer. So, that's one lesson for sure. I also say, when it comes to my journey, and I talked about this earlier, don't let others put you in a box. And I say that lesson in particular because what I also tell people, and I'm not shy to say this either, is unfortunately, from the time that I was 6 to about 16, my parents and I, we grew up, I grew up, I should say, but my parents and I, we were a part of, unfortunately, a group that would be considered a cult. We were at one point Hebrew Israelites. Mm-hmm. And if anyone who has had that tough experience about knowing what a cult is like, your life is restricted, what you can't do, and actually, and I never want anybody in life to have anybody, even their own religious beliefs. If your religious beliefs don't align with what the group is telling you, you should have that right to make the change that you need for your life. So that's one. And I think the final one, to put a bow on this question, I think is always give back and help others, because like I said earlier, I didn't get to where I am without the people in my life helping me get here. And I always want to try to give back to people, and whether it's inspiration, whether it could be at times monetary, like, for example, I'm a part of the Baltimore Tuskegee Alumni Club, and the Baltimore Tuskegee Alumni Club helped me when I was a student, and I'm really excited to be able to help them now as an alum for our current Baltimore and new Baltimore Tuskegee students. So lessons like that really have shaped who I am. And, like I said, when it comes to embracing your journey, even if you have to go through the bad times, those bad moments shape who you are. But if you learn from them, not only can they shape who you are, people are able to learn from those experiences themselves, from your story. And you'll be surprised. You find out that there are people who have a lot in common with you, and you're not out on an island by yourself. But your inspiration shows people that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So those are some of the lessons in my journey that really have stood out to me in making me who I am today.
Well, you know what? I think the thing, your other speaking point, second speaking point, is the reality of your visions. And the thing about it is, you have to be realistic with who you are. Not so much what you can do, because a lot of times we don't know what we can do. We don't know what we will do. But we do know somewhat of who we are. And just what you just said is an example that, hey, I know I came from this. I know I climbed to this. I know that when I was younger, I wasn't focused on what I needed to be focused on. And I took the advice of my parent. The thing about it is, that's the reality of your visions. Sometimes when we can't see, it's like the children, and I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but being in school and being in athletics, there were times where people that were athletic didn't want to wear their glasses. They had the bands for the glasses, they had the goggles for the glasses, they had everything, but they looked like fish in a fish bowl back then. They didn't have these fancy glasses that they have now. They had those
they had the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goggles. Like,
yes. And
There
for
you
a
go.
kid, you know, the kids are looking at them going, what in the world are you wearing? You know, like, so the kids never wanted to wear their glasses.
Yeah.
So even though they might have been a great athlete, they couldn't see.
Right.
You need your glasses to see, you know. So sometimes we have to put on the reality, those glasses, and be able to see where we are, where we're going, and a path to get there may very well be that outside influence, that outside help. The parent that says, you know, you didn't study last night, you're going to study double tonight. You know, we need those influences. Now, what I have to ask you about that is, in the reality of your visions, you spoke eloquently about your reality. And of course, you're at the adult phase. You've already been through a few things. You've already seen a few things. Felice and I have already been through some things. We've already seen a few things. So we kind of can look back at somebody and go, you don't want to go that route. You don't want to do that. Right. You know, we can look at it and do that. But the problem that we're having today, in today's society, I don't know if either of you saw it today, where at was it? No, it wasn't Tuskegee. Where was it? One of the HBCUs decided no more do-rags, no more bonnets.
Yes.
No, you know, so
that was Tuskegee.
That was Tuskegee. Yes.
Okay. So I didn't want to name them if it wasn't them. So okay. So now the thing about it is, and I've been saying this all along. I mean, I can remember almost snatching my son's pajama pants off of him in college because he asked for these specific pajama pants. And I just thought that, oh, he's going to be such a mature guy in the dorm. He's going to have on his pajama pants instead of wearing those raggedy shorts. He's going to have, you know, he's going to be really, really, really astute. He came home in those pajama pants. He wrote in, why are you wearing pajamas in the street? He had on pajama pants, you know, and I can remember being so irate with him about these pants, you know, just the pajama pants. He wasn't anything else. He had on a regular shirt and everything. But I was so upset with the image of this college student. So my thing is the reality of your visions. What, when, where, when do they get the goggles? When do they put them on? When do they see them? And how do we at an older age, instead of having the social media blasts that becomes an argument between the adults, and the kids ain't even in the argument no more. How do we get them to see the reality in it? Because we all know that those that are wearing bonnets to school and everything else, you don't want that to flow over into your professional career.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, so how do we adjust? Because our vision, your vision wasn't your dad's vision.
Right.
Our vision is not our kids' vision, or, you know, it goes on and on and on. You know what I mean? So how do we adjust it where they're not obscured? We're so far off that they're blinded. How do we adjust it?
Well, I think for me, I would say, for example, we'll use the situation that Tuskegee's doing with the bonnets and, you know, removing the bonnets, moving the do-rags. You know, for our young people, we would have to essentially tell them, like, instead of only just saying, hey, don't wear the do-rags, don't wear the bonnets, explain to them why we're telling them not to do this. And I say that because a lot of times if you just say, don't do this, psychologically, it makes you want to do it even more. And especially when it comes to our young people, because we all were young people, we all were teenagers. The more we hear an adult or older person say, don't do this, like, you know what? I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do my own way. So if we were to tell our young people, hey, I know you guys want to wear the bonnets and the do-rags, but hey, let me tell you why you should not do that, especially when you go to class. For example, number one, hey, you're at school, we're teaching you how to get your degree, to get your career in the workforce. Who knows? Maybe some of you might want to even start your own business. The way you dress says a lot about you.
Yeah.
And for example, if you're trying to go, move up the corporate ladder or anything like that, what the likelihood of you moving up the corporate ladder with you dressing poorly is not going to happen. And what you do now is what you're going to do in the future. And see, this is when the lens come into play, because a lot of times when we see things that are way down the road, we can't see it. We only can see with the blinders on, like what's going on right now.
Right.
That's when we need someone to remove the blinders and say, hey, let me show you where you're going. So,
and
for
not
example,
only that, I'm glad you said about the blinders, but not only that, the reflection, because even though I might have graduated and I no longer am in these activities, or I'm no longer doing these activities, we all know that there's a reflection called that application. There's a reflection called that GPA. There's a reflection called that you missed so many classes. There's a reflection that says, what were you doing? And you have a social media site that says this, this, and this. We don't realize a lot of times that the reality of our vision includes all of that. It includes all of that. And a lot of times we don't see that at all. And I just wanted to reflect back that your jewels are in your journey. It's not the journey that you took yesterday and today. Your jewels are in your journey. So we're looking at you from a young student, a young athlete, a young participant in whatever you did as an extracurricular activity. We're looking at you from the reflection of before, as well as where you are today. And a lot of them just do not see the reality in that. I can remember interviewing a gentleman for law enforcement, and it was a home interview. Now it's an interview. We're coming in uniform. We have all of our paperwork, but we're interviewing him in his home. Tell me what you thought he wore.
I can tell it probably wasn't a suit or a shirt and tie. It was not even like I have on like a polo shirt, like business casual.
Surely it wasn't robed in
slippers. Might have come with the. Hopefully, didn't come with the do-rag. I hope not. But I'll let you answer the question, because I can tell by your reaction it was not good.
He had shorts. He had just kicked off the slippers at the door when he opened the door, and he slipped on some deck shoes. Shirt was hanging out of the shorts. It looked like he was, out in the yard doing a cookout or something. He was and that's exactly what he said. When we said to him, you didn't prepare for this interview? And he said, yeah, I'm prepared. And we were like, you're not dressed prepared. And he said, it's an at-home interview. That's what his answer was. And mind you, that's the very first question on the application. Are you prepared for this interview?
Well, so I too seen the article today. Came across one of my social media feeds, and I think most people should stop and ask themselves, and we'll stick with Tuskegee as a whole. Why would you want to go to Tuskegee, right? And I guarantee you the answer lies in the history and everything that Tuskegee stands for up until this point, right?
Yes.
And so why would you not want to preserve the prestige of the institution, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, again, it is about the reality of that. In our society today, we've got this like the old-fashioned balloon pump, where we pump the individuals up.
Mhm.
And the reality is that Tuskegee is already prestigious before you ever were a thought, right? They
Yes,
paid their
absolutely.
dues. And the way they paid their dues was not a privilege. It was
Yes.
not it was really an honoring and a
Mm-hmm.
journey of of being prestigious, but then there's work. There was a lot of work that went into that, right? So
Absolutely.
our
Yes.
society now is, individuals will walk into a prestigious school and say, "My prestige is better than your prestige,"
Right.
Mm-hmm.
which again begs the question of why are you there? Why
Exactly.
are
Right.
you there? So so this really, in my thought and opinion, that this really shouldn't be a conversation or a debate, nor should anyone take offense to
Mm-hmm.
the saying, "Hey, let's get back to the core of
We're
who
not
we
going to
are."
do that here.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Right.
and just to the core of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and the core of who we are is really why you're here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
as the individual are here. So yeah. So because at the end of what I seen, they said, of course, there's two sides. People are taking offense to this, and people are like, "It's about time. You shouldn't have never allowed it." Blah blah blah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, whatever. But again, we're getting to the core of who we are. So this new, or this back to requirements is not a new thing, right? It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
years and years of, and then suddenly, we're changing
Mm-mm.
to this
Mm-mm.
thing. So it is the core of who they are. And I
And
mean,
and you got to think about it too. The leniency, like you said, in the core of who we are, the leniency to allow growth
Mhm,
over certain years. I had an uncle that was one of the Tuskegee Airmen,
mhm,
and I'm sure 100% positive because
mhm,
he went where they were sneaking them in because they
mhm,
were
Mm.
black.
mhm.
Okay. I'm sure that the rules have changed to adjust to the times over the years.
Sure. Yeah.
But to say that it's not adjusting or it's not evolving, I just don't think it wants to evolve to that.
Mhm,
So they're saying, no, we're not doing that.
mhm,
That's not what we're going to evolve to. We may evolve to, females coming in, or we may evolve to other things, but we're not evolving to that.
sure.
So I understand that totally, the evolution that we go through generation after generation. But there are some basics here that you have given us that show us that as much as we think we've changed, we have not changed,
Mhm,
Right.
because the same way you had the reality of your visions, we too had the reality of our visions, as did our parents, as did, their parents, everybody in their space and time. And then the third topic that was one of your speaking points was the freedom from life's addictions. And I think that's
Yes.
where the bonnet and
yeah. Do rag.
the
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my
do-rag and the
addiction, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that's where all of that comes into play, because we become addicted to certain things and then saying that, I'm not thinking about that. That's not really important. But we don't realize the importance until a Tuskegee steps up and says, yes, it is important.
Mhm,
Yes, it
Yes.
is important that we change
sure.
it. Yes, it is
Yeah.
important that we stand on principles.
Mhm,
Yes, it is important that we don't lose sight of
mhm,
who we are in the jewels that we have. You
mhm,
know,
Yes.
um, some of life's addictions are mandated, and I
mhm.
say that loosely because of the simple fact in the times that we live in, that some
Yeah.
things we have to look at it and go, well, how come they're doing that to only us?
Mhm,
Yeah.
And then we have to realize that this has been an addiction for
mhm.
Yes.
someone else. You
Sure.
know, it's
Yeah.
not our addiction, but it's someone else's addiction, and they
Mhm,
haven't
Yes.
gotten over their life's addictions. They haven't been set free from
Yes.
theirs.
yeah.
So
Yes.
a lot of the things that we come up with, um, just setting someone free. Well, Mr. Lewis, how do we go about giving the premise of setting someone free from their addiction, or even them taking it in, for example, and again, I'm going to pick on the poor Tuskegee children who have bags and bags of bonnets and matching pajama pants, and their whole outfit is bonnet 101. How do we release them from some of the addictions that they have adapted, not knowing that it is an addiction?
Well, I think really, and I know this is kind of a routine or I guess easy answer to say, but I do think it does boil down to knowledge. I mean, when you don't know you don't know better, you don't do better. I always think about there's a brother I follow by the name of Dr. Ray Hagins. He always says it like this. He says, the mind cannot teach what it does not know. So a lot of our people, when they, for example, let's go back to the bonnets and the do-rags and, Tuskegee saying, hey, you're not going to come to class like that. The main thing we need to tell, for example, our young people in this situation is, okay, why are you all deciding to want to dress like this? Could it be, for example, could it be because you grew up in a household where, if you were, a daughter, you saw your mother go out with her bonnet, or your sisters, your aunts, or if you were a young man, did you see your father or, brothers go out with their do-rags or, their pants sag or anything like that? And could it, or what are you seeing on social media or on television? Like what images or powers that be put in front of you to make you think that that's normal of Black people? You see what I'm saying? So when we figure out, okay, one, we need to ask, okay, why are our people doing these addictive bad habits? That's the first thing. And once you figure that out, the next thing is saying, like I said earlier, giving them the information. And you have to be delicate, as we know, we have to be delicate with our people. Because when you try to, go for the jugular and bash them, it's like a lot of times, a lot of us don't want to hear that. We tend to rebel. But like I said earlier, if you tell our people, some of our people, let's be real, they're probably, some people, they might just rebel, period. Because it's like, there's an old saying, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But trying to be on the positive side, I do think there are some of our people out there who, if you do give them the right information, hopefully you are going to open their eyes. So going back to the last point we talked about with Tuskegee, I thought about this too. I put this in my book, how when it came to, even though we're talking about freedom from life's addictions, I think we can tie this back into reality of your vision. For example, Tuskegee just celebrated their 145th anniversary on July the 4th. And we talk about people like Booker T. Washington, Lewis Adams, the founders who founded the school. Their vision for us was to have a place where Black people can get an education, obtain a skill, and then bring that back to the community. But part of that vision that I would think that they would have as well would be that, hey, as Black people, we're going to go out in society and present well. In other words, you got to remember, they grew up in a time period where this is extreme racism. White folks look at Black people of that era with any intelligence. Very low. They looked at us as very low. We're nothing. We're stupid. We're ignorant. So their vision was, hey, we're going to show the world that, hey, Black people can be the best and brightest in our society. And we've always been able to be that, even throughout our various challenges. So when you think about that, and I thought about when I was in the Urban Youth Racing School, which is a engineering racing program that I was involved in Philadelphia, I had one of my instructors always say, present well. And like I said earlier, if you don't know how to present well when it comes to dress, that's when you start seeing the people outside of our community look at us and say, oh, there goes another one. See, I told you how you are. So we have to, going back to the question, understand why, for example, our young people are doing what they're doing. But more importantly, like I said earlier, explain to them. And this is where the elders come in and people who grew up in that era where, you just did not do that. Just tell them, hey, listen, I understand you may think this is normal because, you know, your environment or social media or television or whatever, but hey, this is why you should not be doing that, because like I said earlier, when we talk about an addiction, you know, the person may know they have an addiction, but they need the support system to tell them why the addiction is not healthy. Now, ultimately, it's up to that person to realize whether or not he or she wants help. But if they truly do want help, and they have to make that decision for them for their own sake, then hopefully with the support system, they can understand why their habits and what they're doing is not healthy. So again, going back to the, you know, the situation at Tuskegee, the university is essentially trying to, like, in layman's terms, tell our students, listen, you're coming here to get an education, and we want to show in the tradition of our ancestors that founded our institution. Because people always say, you know, I graduated from the illustrious Tuskegee University, which it is. It's an illustrious school. Yeah. Well, if it's going to remain illustrious, then we have to be presenting ourselves as illustrious.
Exactly.
The final chapter in my book is the greatest jewel of all is knowing that you yourself are a jewel. And a lot of our people do the decisions that they do. And this is for young and old people. We're not going to, let's not beat up on the young people completely. We have some old people too who honestly at their age should know better. And when you don't know who you are as a person, you're going to make very bad decisions. And it's hard to tell where you're going to go because you don't know who you are. And when we look around, like the things that happen in our community, like why do we, you know, dress bad, or why do we have so much animosity toward each other? It's because we don't know who we are. And if we really understood who we are as the jewels that we're meant to be, things could change rapidly overnight. So to Tuskegee's point, they're trying to basically tell people, listen, you all are our jewels that we are mining right now to go out into the world.
Very good.
So what we're going to do right now is, hey, we're going to stop the bonnets. We're going to stop the do-rags. We're going to stop from coming into class with your pajamas and slippers. You're going to come to class, you know, present well, be well dressed. So when you leave this institution, you don't go out and embarrass us in the workforce or in your career, because when people ask, so where'd you go to school? Where'd you graduate? I went to Tuskegee. And it's like, they're not going to, because my dad always says this, and it's kind of true. He said, when it comes to white people, they always talk with their eyes. So they're going to tell them, right, Tuskegee, okay. And they're mind thinking, that's how they teach them to dress? So, and this is not me trying to tell them we need to suck up to white people. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I am trying to say is that we need to represent ourselves. I mean, forget other races for a second. We need to just represent ourselves as Black people, as who we are meant to be, because our ancestors fought so hard to get just any level of respect in this racist society. So let's not do all the work that our ancestors have done, so we can, because we think what we're being presented on social media and television and in movies is normal, when the powers that be have an agenda to present that to our young people in the first place. Because it's up to us to say, like I said, it takes a village to raise a child. It's up to us to say, you know what, listen, I see what you see on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, but that's not right. That's not who we are as Black people. So to land my plane here, and you know, as I think Minister Farrakhan and Jay-Z said, you know, that's my passion talking. So I got a little passionate, but you know, forgive me, that's my passion talking. But the important thing is, we just need to represent well as a people. So that's all I got to say on that.
But Mr. Lewis, the power within, would you say that's individualism? Is the power within individualism?
I think I'll answer this question like this. I think it can start as an individualism, because you have to realize, each of us has to realize the power that is within each of us as an individual.
Mhm.
But once we recognize that, the next step needs to be, okay, how can I help the collective of our people? You
Well,
know,
Mr. Lewis,
I thought we were
if
supposed
I want to wear my bonnet
mhm.
and my pajamas to reflect my individualism, what are you saying?
Well, now listen, I'm saying to that, that's a good pushback. I like that. I'm saying, listen, we're not saying you cannot wear your bonnet or pajamas, but what we're saying is there's a time and place for everything. So,
Oh,
for example, you wearing your bonnet and pajamas is not necessarily the right place for the classroom or for your job. Now, if you're in your own
so,
home, hey,
mhm.
more power to you.
Right.
So
But
what I hear you saying is that I have to make a distinct decision of who I am versus what I represent, which
yes,
means that you're putting the weight of other people on my shoulder. And of course, I'm doing this as a hypothetical thing because of the simple fact that this is the voice that we get back
Mhm.
when we tell them that there's certain things that you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
I can remember a parent telling me that their child couldn't get a job because he wouldn't get up till 2 in the afternoon and 3 in the afternoon. But we all know that you're not going to get a job
no,
and go for an interview at 2 and 3 in the afternoon. But the thing is, his individualism,
Mhm.
his right to be who he is.
Mhm.
Now, see, he couldn't live in my house, and I'm quite sure he couldn't live in Felice's house, nor your dad's house. I know
absolutely
that
not.
there's no way that would go on. But the thing is, it seems that this social media, the influences, the outside, as we said, we have to come from the inside with this journey. This journey, this finding your jewels is not an outside journey.
Yeah.
I want everybody to
And Mr. I'm sorry.
understand that you're not looking for jewels outside
Mhm.
before you
Yes.
find the jewel within.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. And I was
You
going to
know
say
what I
too,
mean? I just want to make
yes,
sure that I'm expressing that the right
Mhm.
way, that with the power within, you
Mhm.
can't look for the plug to go into another socket. It's got to plug into you,
yes,
in order
absolutely.
to light up. You have to have your own influence, your own power, your own ability to say, I got to get up and go look for a job. I got to get up and
Yes.
go to class. I
Mhm.
got to make sure that I've done the work that is required of me. And that has to become a part of my individualism. Am
Well,
I saying that the right way? Am I getting it?
well, I'd like to just jump in and
Absolutely.
say this
And
again. You're bringing your individual self to an
I like the fact
institution.
that you brought up that point. Yes. But I will say this too, because I want people to, when they hear this, to say to know that being your own personal individualism is not a bad thing, because we all have things that are unique to us and how we express ourselves. However, the caveat that I would put to that is you can't expect people to react to your individualism the same way. And what I mean by that is, if you think, being, wearing your, I know we keep talking about this, but this is the example we're using, that, you being able to wear your bonnet and your pajamas, out wherever, is just because that's how you express yourself. Well, yeah, that's true. That might be true, but you have to understand, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and that there are consequences to your decisions. So if you decide, for example, hey, like you said, Miss Buchanan, the young man who said, I want to sleep till 2 o'clock, and still think I'm going to get a job. It's like, yeah, you can, if that's how you want to live your life, you can sleep till 2 in the afternoon, but don't be mad when you're not getting the results you want. So, like you said, if you really want that job, you have to realize, you know what? I can't sleep till 2 o'clock. Especially, and I'm gonna say this too, especially if you are, especially a man, you definitely should not be doing that, because if your main point as a man should be how you're going to provide for yourself, especially if you got a family too. I'm not saying he does, I'm just saying as a man,
Right.
you should be wanting to be ambitious and want to do that. But you can't be upset when you say, well, ain't nobody hiring. I can't get no job. It's like, well, you chose to sleep till 2 in the afternoon. No one made you sleep 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
So yeah, you can have your individualism all you want. You're a human being. That's your right. But don't be upset when you don't get the results you want because you're so stuck on your individualism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
but I like
point,
that you raised that point because that was a very good rebuttal that I said earlier.
Yeah. Felice?
Yeah.
No, I thought you had something that you were trying to.
Okay. Well, so again, so we all should and always embrace the individual. But again, the individual needs to understand what they're doing. Why, again, I go back to my question, why are you going to Tuskegee? You sticking with the same subject line. Why are you as an individual going to Tuskegee? And I submit this. You as an individual can't give yourself your own degree in education. And by going through the journey of that. So you have to look at the institution's value, you know, and you do have to, in order to be greater, you have to die to self. You have to die to self for who you currently are, because again, you're going to get education that you don't have now. So you be that 16, 17, 18-year-old person walking into there, right? So in and of itself, you have to die to self. And this comes with anything in life as you're trying to grow and achieve. You can't be bigger than you are being the exact same way you are right now, because it's just impossible. It's like pick a side. And as the Bible tells us, choose ye this day who you will serve. And so again, you know, not saying you are being stripped of your individuality, but what you're doing, you as that individual are choosing a growth pattern or path, journey that you must do. And this, of course, is way outside of the Tuskegee decision on today or topic that we're talking about. This goes for your whole entire life. And it goes back to you, Elijah, about the jewels on the journey. When you as an individual can embrace and say, okay, someone is teaching me a different way for my growth, not for to hold me down or to strip away a negative thing. It is really about the growth of and finding those jewels. That to me, that's a huge jewel that now the students of Tuskegee will now get to collect.
Be able to embrace.
That's what I wanted to say about it.
Right. And we got to remember that influences matter. I wanted to bring this part up because of the simple fact that the influence that you get, not so much from people that you expect it from. A lot of times people that watch you from the outside, people that watch you do things and the way you do things or the way you handle yourself or the way you dress or the way that you interact with others, people are always watching. They're always watching the way that you handle yourself, the way you handle situations, and then the influence comes later.
Yes.
You don't even know sometimes that the influence has caused you to walk a path or to find those little nuggets along the way. You don't even know, I tell people that all the time. People are like, oh, well, you went into law enforcement and you seem to think it was easy. It wasn't easy. It was the fact that I think I had an influence on some folks that said, well, we're going to move her this way and we're going to move her that way, and we're going to make sure that she doesn't have to do that. Now she can do this because of education, because of individualism, because of pride, because of the certain characteristics that you have. Those influences connect to those.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Influences make connections.
Mm-hmm.
And if they make connections, they also leave a little guide map for you to follow and say, well, here's a little nugget for you. And you're like, well, what do I need this for? Just pick it up and put it in your box. Keep on walking. You know, here's another nugget for you. Miss So-and-so needs to talk to you. And you're like, well, who is that lady? I don't even know who that is. No, you go see her and she's got something for you. You don't even know what she knows about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
With those connections that you've made, those influences that you've made to other people, just the fact that you wore that suit instead of a sweatsuit, you wore a regular suit and shoes and a tie.
Mm-hmm.
And you walked in the office and they said, wow, he really looks the part. Let's send him on an interview at such and such a place. You don't even know what you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
But you influenced the person that took your application to the point where they just assumed that you fit what you gave them as an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You fit it. And sometimes they'll even tell you, just go in there and nod your head. Don't say anything. You don't have to say anything. I already told them what you're going to be able to do. They already spoke for you.
Yes.
Because of the influence that you put on them. So a part of the journey that's in your book, you've already told us so much about this lovely thing called Your Jewels Are in Your Journey. What have you found has been the reaction to some of those that have read it?
Well, for the most part, I've really found that people love it. I mean, and I've shared this with, young folks and even people who are older, and people say, when people come to my table at events, they just say, oh, you know what, I think I would love to give this to my son or my granddaughter or whoever. And the one that I love and appreciate the most is actually when my elders read the book, because my elders don't have to read the book. I know they've had a lot more wisdom than I have because they've been around the block more. But when they say, hey, Elijah, I loved your book. It was phenomenal. It just makes me really appreciate it, because they don't have to read the book. They can just say, listen, I'm in my 60s, my 70s, I'm good. But the fact that they even want to read it and they find inspiration from it, that makes me, just as a young person, who's going to be 30 in November, it's just like, wow, I appreciate the fact that as my elder, you're even taking the appreciation towards my book. So I think I've been truly happy that people love this book and it's touching a lot of people. And I'm thankful that it has made an impact, for both, our young and for our young at heart as well. So, I definitely just appreciate the fact that people admire this book and that they can resonate with it. And also, like I said earlier, that they even see, people in their, family or their friends who could benefit from the book as well. So I truly admire that I'm getting or have gotten rather such a positive reaction to my work.
That's great. That's great. And I noticed that you had two quotes here, and I mean, one was a shock, and then the other was, well, of course he's from Tuskegee. Who else would he? Who else would he? And that was the one from Booker T. Washington, where you said, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else.
Yeah.
And that's basically where we get the inspiration from, is to inspire. When we inspire one, we inspire many. We don't know how many that one positive thing touches all the way around. One of the things that I used to tell people was, be as infectious as a smile.
Yes.
Because the thing about it is, it doesn't matter if a stranger smiles at you, you just smile back. You don't even question it. It just automatically comes up that, oh, wow, they smiled. Okay, smile back and keep going. You don't have to stop. You don't have to speak. You don't have to say anything. But that smile just automatically becomes infectious, you know? And more infectious even with children, you know, like when when a child smiles at you, you automatically smile back. You just give that smile back. But the one that got me was that I did not know that this quote was similar in its verbiage. I looked at it and I had to look at it 2 or 3 times because I was like, wow. Booker T. Washington said, and I'm going to repeat it again. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. And then this man was phenomenal. Tupac. He said, I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So he's not saying it in the same way, but he's saying if I lift up, bless you, if I lift up someone, that someone will lift up someone else. If I just turn them on to it, they'll turn on somebody else. They'll flip the switch on too. And if we all just flip the switch, the jewels will light up themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the way that I thought about it. I want our audience to know that you can get Elijah's wording, his books, his jewels. You got to get the book because the book is a jewel. You got to get that. So you can go to his website. He's got 2 websites here. Contact him on either one of the websites and make sure you get his book. And it's available. It's available now. It's out.
Hey, there it is. Okay, but I think he wanted to say something. Did you, Elijah?
Oh, well, I was gonna say earlier when you were showing the 2 quotes, I just like that, how even though, for example, Booker T. Washington and Tupac are 2 different people, they both were able to, like you said, influence, through education and also through music too. Because the thing about it, when you have the right education and for example, we all know music is such a powerful tool. Music is like the voice behind change. So, I just think I was trying to say earlier, I just like the fact that even though they had 2 different methods about how to influence change, both of those 2 methods are 2 of the most powerful tools that, can spark change within society, which is music and education.
And a lot of people, I know when I was younger in school, poetry became one of my first writings that I loved, and I still do it. I still write poems. Now I don't do the sing-song poems as much, but I still write poetry. But the thing about it is what a lot of people don't understand is that, a lot of people were like, oh, well, Tupac doesn't write poems and he doesn't do anything. And they don't understand that lyrics are poems.
Yes,
they're just put to music, that it's just poetry put to music. So here you have a man of influence and a man of history.
Yes.
And they're both saying the same thing. It's just one has the poetic view and one has the written view. One is, Booker T. Washington was a writer, so he just wrote it straight out. But Tupac had to put a little turn on it, and it probably goes to some music piece that he wrote that we dance to and don't know half the words to as we're singing it, but this is what he's saying. When you take those things off of the sheet music and say them, sometimes the meaning sits a little deeper because we begin to have thought behind it. But we want to thank you for being our guest. We want people to know also your Gmail address. They can contact you through your Gmail address and get in touch with you.
That's not it.
Is that it? No, that is
No,
not.
that's Erica Lee.
That's not it.
mine.
No, that is
That
not
was
it.
last week.
You are right. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We can get it right. See, that's why Felice is with me.
She always makes
I was
sure
gonna
I'm
say,
paying
to be fair,
attention.
she did warn us before she did warn me before the show started, so it's okay.
Mhm.
You know, that's why they
Told
say
you.
two are better than one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, like we all say, hey, charge it to my head, not to my heart.
That's right. That is
Mm.
correct. That's so correct.
We
You
do
had
not
it, you
want.
had it earlier when you had the his website. You said 2 websites, but one was the website and the other was his email account.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The ElijahLewis.org is the website. The Elijah Lewis at yourjewelsandyourjourney.com. That's my email. So, but if you do reach out to me via email and you want to ask, hey, where can I get the book? Or hey, I'll still give you the website. So you can still reach
Right,
out to me
right. So
via
you
email.
can get the
Yeah.
information on either or. So now that we've corrected it,
There you go.
yeah, you can get the information on either or. I am so sorry for that mistake, but we all human.
Yes, we are. Yes,
And we just want to make sure that we understand who you are. So with that, Felice has a last question.
Yes, I do. First, again, thank you for your gifts that you give to the world and being unselfish, even in your individualistic self. So I applaud you for that, and thank you for wanting to help others with your knowledge. And just like any jewel, it becomes more valuable when others know about it, right? Yeah. So in all you do, in giving back to the world, we know that there's a big responsibility in putting your gifts out there to the world. So as others are watching this show, we want to give them a full view of who Elijah Lewis is. So, Elijah, before or when your cup gets empty, what do you do to fill it?
I would say before it gets empty, or when it gets empty. Honestly, I kind of feel like I need to do better at this because a lot of times I feel like I'm at the point now where it's like when I'm at like an empty cup, I'm just like, man, I just feel burnt out, and I kind of have to do a better job avoiding that, to be honest with you. But I will say some of the things that I try to do would be, meditate, try to, of course, I always love listening to music. That really helps me. Spending time with family and friends and trying to do my best to take a break when I can. I think I got to work on that a little bit better because that's kind of where the burnout can come at times with work and, my business and things like that. Like, yeah, things like that is what I try to do to try to avoid that burnout or, avoid having an empty cup. And I think the one benefit I will say with being around my family and friends is that does refill my cup. So it makes me feel like I'm re-energized and, I can go back out and do what I have to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. And just keep on. Shout out to the parents.
Yeah, to both parents. To both parents.
If I may.
But we want to thank you for being our guest tonight. We appreciate you, and jewels are always welcome. So we want to extend that to you as well. You're always welcome to come to the show and tell us what's new, what you're doing, and it's spreading the word and getting it out there, making out those connections. Because, like you said, lifting one is not enough if you can't lift 2 or 3 more. So we love that. We love that. So we want to say good night to our audience. Those of you that are watching, those of you that want to watch the replay, please go to the YouTube channel or on my website. It will be posted as of tomorrow. So you will be able to watch the replay and you'll be able to take a look at what this young man had to offer so that you can offer it to others. And we appreciate you every week. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.